Welcome. My name is Kate Benedict. I am the Executive Director of Financial Beginnings Oregon. We are a statewide nonprofit that focuses on bringing free financial education to youth and adults across Oregon. We're so grateful to partner with the Department of Consumer and Business Services, Division of Financial Regulation, to provide financial literacy and insurance literacy trainings each year. Without their support, our work statewide would not be possible. And I'm honored to be moderating today's panel on a topic that is so critically important to the health, safety, and financial well-being of Oregonians across the state, all things emergency preparedness and management. Today's panel will cover 4 major topics: Prepping 101, wildfires, winter storms, and earthquakes. Without further ado, let's have our fantastic panelists introduce themselves, and then I'll share a few notes on our format for the panel.
Hi, I'm Althea Rizzo from the Oregon Office of Emergency Management. I'm the Geologic Hazards Program Coordinator, so that covers earthquakes, volcanoes, tsunamis, sometimes landslides, and sometimes sinkholes.
I'm Kevin Jeffries. I'm the Consumer Liaison and Lead Outreach Education Coordinator, as well as the Disaster Response Coordinator for the Insurance Commissioner's Office, which is in the Division of Financial Regulation. Thank you all for being here today. This is a subject that I'm pretty passionate about, and it's just really exciting to see so many faces that are also interested in this topic. So I hope you enjoyed today.
Hi, I'm Jamie Bash. I'm with the Oregon Health Authority, and a lot of times we end up supporting everybody else. A lot of disasters cross-cut with health, and so we often play a technical role. My specific role is to help with communications and health communications during emergencies.
My name is Jenna Trentadue, and I'm the National Fire Plan Coordinator for the Oregon Department of Forestry, and I'm going to be talking to you guys about wildfire today.
Great. Thanks, everybody. So as we go, I'll be asking these panelists some questions, some follow-up questions to the things they have prepared to present, and questions about how Oregonians can best be prepared, how they can find extra resources, how they can be financially prepared for all of these different events should they occur, and how we can all stay ahead of the game to protect ourselves. 2 things to note. I've been told that these 4 people could discuss these topics for a couple of days at least without a pause. So one thing I'll be doing is keeping us on time, keeping us on track. Don't be offended if I move you along. We'll plan to spend about 15 to 20 minutes on each topic, and then we'll have about 5 minutes for questions at the end of each portion. Point number 2, I consider myself the exact opposite of an expert on these topics. So I think I consider it your charge that if I learn something today and if I take something away from what you all have presented, it will be a success, because I'm sort of the perfect example of maybe the average Oregonian who is underinformed and should be more informed on these topics. So my questions might come from all different angles. We'll see what happens. Great. So we'll kick it off with Prepping 101, and that is Althea.
The mic section is right there.
Sure, thank you. So I wanted to thank everyone for coming out to talk about something that can be kind of scary and intimidating. And the one thing that I want you all to take away from today is that as big and scary as some of our natural hazards are, there is so much that you as individuals, as neighborhoods, and as communities can do to get prepared for this. So just talking about what kind of natural disasters we have here in Oregon. We have wildland fire, and she's going to be talking a little bit more about that. But we have winter storms, we have flooding, we have landslides, tsunami, El Nino causes weather-related issues, and of course we can have earthquakes. And as we saw last summer, we can get stuff that's new and kind of out of the blue with algae toxicity last year in Detroit Lake. I mean, think about how prepared were you or weren't you for that event? And that was just dealing with one aspect of water. So it doesn't take a Cascadia-style event to need to be prepared for these unexpected occurrences. And the thing to remember about preparing for natural disasters is you don't want to put all of your eggs in one basket. How many people in here have extra water at home? Maybe some extra food? Has maybe a distillery? You know, the questions is,
Or water.
or for water. True. But the question is, are you at home right now? So your preparedness at home is great when you're at home, but you have to think about preparedness as a distributed system. So when we think about this, we think about starting with your grab-and-go kit. We all grew up knowing that we needed to have a 72-hour kit. And that's, you know, that's your basics. We'll talk a little bit more about that here in a little bit. But also thinking about storing supplies at work. Have 7 to 10 days worth of food and water in a Rubbermaid tote underneath your desk. That will help prop up your desk in case of Cascadia, and it'll create a safer space underneath your desk. And thinking about where you spend a significant amount of time. Do you spend time at your children's school? Do you spend time at church? Do you spend time, you know, at your parents' place, at your kids' place, at your siblings' place, or a friend's place? If you're there and there's no preparedness supplies there, you are a burden on that individual or that family. So by distributing your supplies, you're going to be able to have a little bit of preparedness wherever you are. And if you think about it this way, if you have 7 to 10 days worth of food and water and supplies in your car, and you have 7 to 10 days worth of food and water at your office, and it happens during work hours, you've got 2 weeks worth of food and water with you between your car and your office. So thinking about this as distributed systems is really going to help you kind of chunk it down into bite-sized pieces. We don't expect everyone to go out and rampage through Amazon shopping lists and purchase everything at once. This is done over time. We're hoping that Mother Nature does give us time to prepare for this, but you got to start somewhere. And so just thinking about it as, you know, what can I put here? What can I sort of tuck into this corner? What can I tuck into that corner? What can I put into my car? What can I keep at work? And just spreading it out over your entire existence, basically. So looking at your grab-and-go bag, you know, this is what everyone should have either in their car or in the closet by the door or underneath their desk. You can have one in all places. I'm thinking about that distributed system again. But this is your bag that will keep you alive for 3 days. It has food and water. I don't store actually a lot of water in my bag because water takes up a lot of space. I keep about a day's worth of supply in there, but I also have several different ways of making clean water. So I've got 2 different filter straw systems. I have chem tabs, and I have a coffee filter. So I have different ways of making clean water. And I've had experience practicing with that because it doesn't do any good to put anything into your kit that you haven't tried out. So if you have not made clean water, this is something that you need to practice, and we're going to talk more about that probably later. Thinking about food, I keep a Brick O flavored sawdust. It's those yellow squares, and it tells you how many calories it has, and it's basically flavored sawdust. But for one thing, your kids will not get into that because that was one of my issues growing up in my grab-and-go kits is the food and sort of disappeared over time, especially if it was really yummy. But I found that the kids would not eat those bricks of food. But that's a specific amount of calories that you can keep in your bag. I tend to also keep freeze-dried coffee packets from Starbucks because you do not want me decaffeinated in an emergency situation. Thinking about first aid, you know, you can go down and buy a little first aid kit, and that's a great place to start. But I've added, you know, adhesive bandages, I've added tape, I've added gauze bandages, I've added various things over the years so that my kit's a little bit more robust than what you can go down to Walmart and buy. But it's a start. Those things are a great place to start. Other things that you want to have in your Go Kit are your documents, your important documents. You should have those stored not just in your file cabinet at home, but upload them to the cloud somehow. Put them on a thumb drive that you can put on your keychain. Store hard copies of the most important ones in your grab-and-go bag, but making sure that your important documents, your insurance, your prescriptions, your doctor's information, all of that kind of thing, you have access to. If the little planner booklet in the back is a great place to store a lot of that information. It's a small thing. And on mine, when I am done with the prescription, I peel off the label and stick it in that planner book so that when I'm traveling, I have all of my prescriptions with me. And I've actually had to use that in the past when I've forgotten my prescription sitting on the bathroom counter. So it doesn't take Cascadian to need this kind of preparedness things. When you're looking at clothes to go in here, this is Oregon. It can be all 4 seasons within a 24-hour period. So I keep wool socks. I keep a couple of layered garments in mine. I have a pair of hiking boots that are well broke in, tied to the outside of it, because a lot of times I may be traveling and I'm dressed for work, which is not necessarily dressed for an emergency. So having a good sturdy pair of shoes available in your go bag. I keep tarps. I keep bungee cords. I got paracords. I've got duct tape. So what goes into your kit is going to be really unique to you, because if you have kids, you're probably going to want to put in their Whoopie or an old toy, you know, something that comforts them. Thinking about what are you going to do for entertainment, perhaps? A deck of cards. I know someone who keeps Tolstoy in his grab-and-go kit, because no matter how bad a day he's having, if he reads Tolstoy, he knows he's not as bad as it could really be. I keep little bottles of shampoo and bar soap, toothpaste, toothbrushes in there, because hygiene is important. Just for the comfort value, knowing that you can go brush your teeth, you can wash your hair, wash your face, and just what do you need? Some women keep an extra lipstick in there because that's what they need to feel comfort. So just, you know, think about what you can add that's small that can go into that grab-and-go bag that's unique to you. I keep a book in there. It's usually a Terry Pratchett. Because I can reread those over and over again. But so your Go Kit is going to be really unique to you. If you have pets, they're going to have their own Go Kit. So if you have elders, their needs are going to be a little bit different. So really sitting down and thinking about what your needs are is really the first step to creating your network of resiliency and preparedness supplies. So what do you need to be 2 weeks ready? So we all have our grab-and-go kits. That's groovy. That's awesome. That's a good place to start. But you don't have to live in Oregon very long to know that emergency situations can last longer than those 3 days. How many people have been without power for over a week? Yeah, so if you live in Portland, you're pretty familiar with this. Every winter you seem to get a winter storm that knocks your power out for a week. But down south this last winter, we had a couple of areas that were not just power out, but they were actually isolated for over a week. So thinking about our preparedness, we know that we have to go past those 72-hour kits and start looking at being 2 weeks ready. Because it's going to be important for individuals to take that responsibility for the ones who can prepare, should prepare, so that we can send our resources to serve communities that aren't able to prepare. So sitting down with your family and kind of keeping a journal over a 2-week period. How much do you eat? How much water do you use? You know, what... Oh, sorry, I get my hands going. You know, what kind of things do you consume? How much toilet paper do you use in a 2-week period? How many diapers? How many wipes? How much coffee? How many potato chips? You know, what do you use and consume over a 2-week period? Keep a journal so that you can start to look at what kind of resources you might be able to start stocking and have that available in a week, 2 weeks supply. Do you have medical needs? Do you have frail elders that you have to deal with? Do you have chronic illnesses? Do you have children that have issues that you need to account for? Do you have individuals that have medical devices that need power? How are you going to power that after an event? I use a CPAP machine, so we keep a marine battery charged so that I have at least a week's worth of power for my CPAP machine. After that, it becomes a little bit more problematic, but our intention is to put in some solar power panels so that we can recharge batteries over time. So everyone's medical needs is going to be different. Stop and take some time to think about what you would need to do and what kind of measures you'd need to take so that you could be 2 weeks without power if necessary. Do you have pets? Do you have livestock? All of those are going to need to be accounted for. When you're doing your water budget, your food budget for that 2 weeks, you need to account for those pets or those livestocks. So take a couple of weeks and keep a journal of how much you consume and think about what you can replace over time. You know, how do you consume toilet paper? Do you go get it pack by pack, roll by roll, or do you go down to Costco, load up the front loader and load up the pickup truck? You know, thinking about your purchasing, you know, if you're able to do that ahead of time is going to be really, really important. So one of the hardest things to do is take that first step. People get in their minds that preparedness and is hard, but it really isn't. It's just thinking about what we already do as Oregonians and doing it a little bit more purposefully. I mean, how many people in here go camping? How many people in here hike, bike, garden, hunt, fish? You know, all of those things are preparedness activities. So if you go camping, you probably have everything you need to be somewhat to fairly comfortable, even if you don't have power, if you don't have a home to stay in, if it's after Cascadia and your home has fallen off of its foundation. If you're a camper, you probably have everything you need in the way of supplies. You just need to think about it a little bit more purposefully and pull all of those supplies together. But getting that first action out of the way will sort of open up your mental state to doing the next step. So I want everyone to do 2 of these 3 things before they go to bed tonight. None of them cost any money. You probably have everything already that you need to do 2 of these things. And if you're really, really ambitious, you can do all 3. I don't judge. So the first thing that I recommend you do is start a conversation. And this can be over the dinner table. You know, I went to this great presentation with these really smart people and I learned a lot. And I think that we need to start getting ready. It can be online, it could be Facebook, it could be at the brew pub, it could be after your children's school, wherever it is that you know you're going to be later today, have a conversation. It could be in the line at the grocery store, you know. So just start that conversation because we're 4 people, 5 people, and we really are going to rely on you to be a part of getting Oregon ready for Cascadia because we're just a few people. We need everyone to be ambassadors to preparedness. The second thing to do is put your out-of-state contact into your cell phone under one EQ text. That person should be east of the Mississippi. This is kind of like putting your, in case of emergency, contact in your phone. Doing it under one EQ text puts it at the top of your contact list. This would be your out-of-state contact. Make it east of the Mississippi because if we have a full RIP 9 Cascadia, the entire western U.S. is going to be impacted by it in some way. So we want to make sure that it's someone like Aunt Martha in Ohio. Make sure Aunt Martha knows that she's the family nexus and she's everyone's out-of-state contact because that would just kind of shock her and we don't want that to happen during an emergency. And know that if you can't make a phone call after an event like this, you can probably make a text phone call. It just takes up less data to send a text. and then, practice it, make sure that you know that your text works to that person. The other third thing that you can do is take an old pair of shoes, a shopping bag, a pair of gloves, and a flashlight. I personally like the headlamps because it frees your hands up. I have a hard hat in my kit. I just put it right there by my bed so that if something happens at night, it doesn't have to be an earthquake. It could be a fire. It could be someone, knocking on the door. Something could happen in the middle of the night. And that way you've got shoes, leather gloves, flashlights, and a hard hat, because you do not want to start an emergency with cut feet because you've been running across broken glass or broken lumber. I almost tried to use that one. So that's what I have.
Thank you, Althea. I wrote down practically everything you said. That was a lot of great information. I have one follow-up question. Where do people go to learn more? If there was something you said that they have more questions, where could they go?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and Google is your friend. We send people first, if you're just starting out, go to ready.gov. It's full of checklists of supplies, of things that you need to do, and there are checklists for kids, checklists for elders, checklists for pets. They have information there for livestock, all sorts of information. Start at ready.gov. Then you can go to the OEM website for sort of generalized information, but also other state agencies have websites with information. Just Google Emergency Preparedness in Oregon. If you're looking to contact someone in your local community, start with your fire department, start with your local emergency management group. So there's a lot of ways to get more information.
Great, thank you. Kevin, a quick question for you on emergency preparedness. What are 2 things that Oregonians can do to protect themselves financially before a disaster strikes?
Yeah, thank you for that question, Kate. It's really important. A lot of the things that Althea's been talking about, the Cascadia event and many other disasters that we face, you can insure against those financial risks. So go talk with your insurance agent and make sure that you have the coverage that you feel like you need to protect your family financially from those disasters. Now, insurance can't keep your house from crumbling during an earthquake, but it can help you find the funds to rebuild it. And the other thing to do, we highly recommend, is you have some sort of emergency fund, and be careful where you put that emergency fund. If you have $2,000 in cash in your house and your house burns down, your insurance isn't going to give you $2,000 back. So just be careful where you put that. You may not want to have it all in one place, or find a safe place in your house that might be resilient to fire or resilient to theft. And we also recommend people go talk with their bank or credit union and find out what their disaster plan is. And so if there was a Cascadia event, and how could you get your money out? So they're required to have a plan on file. So just go and check and see what that is and see how that fits into your plan as well.
And what about a home inventory?
Oh, thank you. Good cue. I would have been in trouble if I didn't bring that up. So we recommend that everyone do at least once a year a home inventory. The first week of September in 2019 it's a financial preparedness week for disaster readiness. So you have that disaster happens, prepare now. The whole month of September is all about disaster preparedness. And so during the first week of September, we're asking people to do 2 things. Do a home inventory and go talk with your insurance agent and make sure you have the right coverage. And a home inventory is a very simple process. You just go room by room, take pictures of things. You don't need to categorize everything. Just take a picture, because if the disaster doesn't happen, then you don't need the list. But if it does, you'll be able to go through your phone and actually kind of zoom in on everything and see what you had. Open up drawers, take pictures, bookshelves, just take pictures, because the cameras these days are great. You can zoom in and read the binding know what books you've lost. Your closets, your drawers, go in the garage, sheds, all that stuff could actually be replaced from your insurance. Your insurance could pay for that if those things are lost.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks, Kate.
Question for you, Jamie. From a health perspective, what are some of the things that you get concerned about when you think about personal preparedness for folks?
Yeah, I think health is kind of a cross-cutting theme. You're gonna have health effects almost regardless of what's happening. With wildfire smoke, we have respiratory illness. Power outages can happen with winter storms or wildfires. Carbon monoxide poisoning, and so I think from a preparedness standpoint, we worry about making sure that people know how to prevent injury and illness during disasters, but we also get really worried about populations that have access and functional needs. And particularly when we think about power outages, right? Like some people are oxygen dependent, some people need dialysis. And so I think really as part of your communications plan, talking through with your provider, your health insurance company, your pharmacy about how you can make sure that not just your health needs are met, but maybe the neighbor or your family member that has special medical needs. Make sure you have the conversation with them about being being prepared. And then obviously learn how to prepare to prevent illness and injury after a disaster and first aid.
Great. Now we have time for a couple questions from the audience on Prepping 101. If there are any questions from the group, we have some time for them. Yes.
Regarding the grab-and-go bag and that sort of preparation, I like the idea of having all of the things that you mentioned in your grab-and-go bag, but it sounds to me like it would weigh about 100 pounds. You wouldn't exactly be grabbing and going without perhaps a dolly or set of wheels or something. How do you manage that? A wheeled suitcase is your friend. And that's where you also have a distributed system. If you have your grab-and-go kit in your closet that has your more personal items, but you also have a grab-and-go kit in your car that has some of the more heavy items, then it's again, you're kind of doubling up on your stuff that you can take with you. But it doesn't have to be a backpack. In my car, I have a Rubbermaid tote that's about this big that I keep my supplies into. But I've seen those grocery carts. I've seen them in like a bicycle wagon that you normally keep your pet or your kid in. It can be in that you can hook to your bicycle really fast and get out. So again, take stock of what your capabilities are and what your resources are. I'm getting to an age where a backpack probably isn't the most ideal. So I go to Goodwill and I pick up my backpacks and my rolly bags for my go kits and things like that. You don't have to go out and purchase new. Thrift your way to preparedness. Saves yourself some money.
Thank you. That's a really great question. I'm sure a lot of us were thinking the same things. Yes, go ahead.
We're actually recording this for posterity, so if you can talk to the mic, that'd be great. Thanks.
Outstanding. Hi, I'm Greg Walsh. I'm the City of Salem Emergency Manager, and my 2 cents, something else that has come up frequently is actually using your trash can. You're given a trash can by your trash service, usually that has some wheels on it. That's another great, toss it in the trash can and you can wheel it with you. Or I personally have a fold-out wagon for gardening, and it folds up in my garage, and I can fold it out and put several gallons and buckets of water in it. So, but exactly what Althea said is figure out what works for you.
So first step, clean out your trash can. Okay,
From
I'll
a
do that
health
tonight.
perspective, I'm going to say please, with bleach.
Okay. All right. Wonderful.